Well, Razorback fans, there is one game every football season that will determine the success of the Razorback football season, and I have some numbers to back it up. So let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Friday. We have finally made it to the weekend, and we're going to have a lot of great things to talk about today. But as I teased, and as was discussed actually on Twitter, on my social media, between Arkansas fans among other SEC fans, is dealing with the schedule, which we know Arkansas has the SEC West that they're always going to play against each and every year. Like, that's just the way it is. It's the way it's always going to be, and it's fine. Like, nobody's being sorry about that because it's just the way it is in the division. However, looking at the numbers, Arkansas has had some success and some failures against some particular teams in the SEC West. For instance, Arkansas has not beaten Alabama since the Bush administration. That was 2006. Like, we're getting dangerously close to the point to where there are some students that will be attending the University of Arkansas that weren't alive the last time Arkansas beat Alabama. That's a scary thing. But, hey, Alabama's Alabama. That's the way it is. But like teams like, LSU, for instance. I think Arkansas, over the past 10 to 15 years, has had mild success. LSU has won more, so there's no doubt. But Arkansas has always found a way to win those games, and sometimes they won them in bad seasons. Sometimes they won them in good seasons. It didn't really matter. It was just a matter of, the timing of the game and everything. And there's games just like that. That's just the way it is. But there's one particular game that if you get asked about, what's the biggest game on Arkansas' schedule? Or what's the must-win game? What's the swing game that gets thrown around so much? To me, there's only one answer to this question, and any other answers are null and void. Every single year, the Arkansas Razorback football season and the success that comes along with it comes down to the Texas A&M game in Arlington. Now, some of you will be like, well, yeah, duh, of course it does. Because it's a game that Arkansas has not had much success in, even though most Razorback fans feel like they should have won a lot more games than what they have. That's just the fact. But let's look at the numbers on this. And I pulled it up, and of course, I'm a big numbers guy, obviously. That's why I'm so successful in college. But this is just the history since Arkansas and Texas A&M started playing each other every single year, starting in 2009. 2009 is when the Southwest Classic started up, and Arkansas played Texas A&M 3 straight years while A&M was still part of the Big 12, and then from 2012 on is when Texas A&M became a member of the SEC. But they've still played each other each and every year. They played in Fayetteville once. They played in Arlington, or in College Station twice, and the rest of the time they played in Arlington. So here's the deal. Arkansas has only beaten Texas A&M 4 times since the Southwest Classic has started back in 2009. 2009, 2010, 2011. Arkansas started the series 3-0. Bobby Petrino never lost to Texas A&M. They always beat Mike Sherman, I think was the coach's name, while he was there at A&M, and they had the success. Then the John L. Smith year happened, and Arkansas went through a long losing streak of a mere 9 games before Arkansas was able to finally win in 2021, but then they lost in 2022. So the 4 wins came in 2009, 2010, 2011, and in 2021. Those are the only 4 times that Arkansas has beaten Texas A&M. So look at the win totals, though, of those seasons, folks. In 2009, Arkansas won 8 games. In 2010, Arkansas won 10 games. In 2011, Arkansas won 11 games. And then in 2021, Arkansas won 9 games. 8 wins, 10 wins, 11 wins, 9 wins in those seasons where Arkansas beat Texas A&M. You could even make the argument that those 4 seasons were the best seasons that Arkansas has had in the past 15 years. I don't even know if it is an argument. Like, it might be just the facts. Those are the best seasons that Arkansas has had. Now, 2015 was a solid year, and Arkansas still lost to A&M, but listen to the win totals now when Arkansas lost to Texas A&M, starting in 2012. 4 wins, 3 wins, 7 wins. 7 wins. 7 wins. 4 wins. 2 wins. 2 wins. 3 wins. 7 wins. Those are the totals of when Arkansas season either went badly or were just average. And I can't help but think that there's a correlation here, folks. Can't help but think that there's maybe something to it when Arkansas and Texas A&M play each other, that's the game that's going to determine and dictate the season that Arkansas is going to have. Even last year, we all look at that game against Texas A&M that Arkansas should have won, but didn't, as being the kicker game that would have been the huge difference in the season moving forward. And that's what makes it so frustrating. Because not only has Arkansas lost more of these games than not, but almost every single game they've lost has been a nail-biter. Except for just a select few. But in 2012, Arkansas got smoked in College Station. That was Johnny Manziel's coming out party, 58-10. That was just a bad year all around. And Arkansas lost in Fayetteville, 45-13. So it got closer. It was a 12-point victory for A&M. But then in 2014, Arkansas lost by a touchdown in overtime. 2015, lost by a touchdown in overtime. 2016, A&M did take care of business, and that was the game, if I'm not mistaken, that Trevor Knight was the quarterback for A&M and decided to run for 250 yards because Arkansas just didn't want to, play QB spy or whatever. They got smoked in that game. But then you have the next year in 2017, Arkansas lost by a touchdown in overtime, 50-43. So 3 of those games that Arkansas lost went into overtime. In the Chad Morris years, this is dumb. In the Chad Morris years, Arkansas lost by a touchdown, 24-17. And then they lost by 4 points, 31-27. The fact that they were able to score 27 points with Chad Morris as the head coach against Texas A&M is absurd. It's insane. They kept it close. Sam Pittman's first year in 2020 down there in College Station, Arkansas lost by 11 points, 42-31. Arkansas won 20-10, but then Arkansas lost this past year by 2 points. So the point is with this game, I'm not saying A&M hasn't deserved to win the games because they won the games. Like, this is what happens. I chalk it up to Brett Bielema being an extremely bad coach while he was at Arkansas. And he was the cause for why those collapses happened so often because Arkansas had a lead and just couldn't get it done. And the most frustrating thing was when Arkansas lost to A&M last year. Last year may have been the most frustrating loss Arkansas has ever had to Texas A&M, in my opinion, because Arkansas was a bona fide better team. But due to about 3 plays that we could all count on, and we all know which ones we're talking about, that was the difference in the game. So it comes down to that one. And this year's Arkansas A&M game, it's not the first game of the season in conference play for Arkansas. It's actually LSU. And how fun is it that Arkansas gets to go to LSU and then A&M in Arlington, then to Ole Miss, then to Alabama? How fun. Thank you for that, schedulers. But that's the game that's always going to be the difference. And I felt like in that 4-game stretch for Arkansas, if they go 2-2, it's going to be a great year. And that 4-game stretch of LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, and Bama, if they go 2-2 in those games, it's going to be a great year. I think Arkansas starts 3-0. I think Arkansas inevitably finishes with those final 5 games, I guess, of the year, probably going 4-1, maybe 3-2 at the worst. And if that happens, they put you at 8-4, possibly 9-3. Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But when you're talking about going 2-2 in those 4 games, one of those wins, more than likely, or at least the more likeliest of wins you'll have, will be against Ole Miss and be against Texas A&M. Those are the 2. I'm not saying Arkansas for sure is going to win them. We'll see when we get there. But those are the ones that you feel like would be more likely than beating LSU on the road or beating Alabama on the road. You got to beat A&M. That'll be the difference. It's been the difference since 2009, and it's going to be the difference again this year. How many times can you count that if Arkansas just would have beaten A&M like they maybe should have because they had a big lead, or maybe should have because they were in control of the game, and maybe should have because they had all the momentum, like all those times, how the seasons would have been different, how the viewpoints would have been different. You don't want it next year. I swear, if we talk about this again, it's going to suck if we're sitting here being like, man, that last season, man, it just could have been so much better. They should have won that A&M game. They should have won it. They were in control. They should have won it. Shoulda, coulda, woulda doesn't matter. You got to take care of business. That's the key game. That's the kicker. If Arkansas wins, expect a great year. They lose, feels like it's going to be more of the same. Folks, these days, every new potential hire feels like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So all you got to do is go to linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege, and then you can start really getting it going and publicizing the fact that you have a great job opening and get the most qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster and for free. That's the biggest thing. Can't tell you how many of my friends, how many people I know who have gotten some of their dream jobs, some of their best jobs, simply due to LinkedIn. Don't miss out on this opportunity. So go to linkedinjobs.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. A little basketball news, too, and it's nothing that we can really dive into or be surprising or anything like that. However, I really thought it was cool that on, I guess, earlier on Thursday, I'm trying to see at the time of what it was. Doesn't matter. It was later in the afternoon, but it was officially announced from Razorback basketball, men's basketball, that for the third straight season, they have sold out of season tickets. It says Bud Walton Arena is the hottest ticket in town. That was what the official Razorback men's basketball Twitter said. And then Eric Musselman said, sold out for the season in July. See you in Bud Walton Arena in November. #1Razorback. So yeah, for the third consecutive season, you've had season tickets get sold out at Bud Walton Arena. Not surprising, because when you have a winning product that's highly competitive and nationally relevant, this is what's going to happen. And when you keep winning and you keep producing and you keep bringing excitement and energy to the program itself, this is what's going to happen. But it's just really always impressive to me to know that for Arkansas and what they love in their sports and how they treat their sports, is like it's always incredible to see how much they support by season tickets. Like softball, for instance. Softball was never really a huge driving factor for Arkansas, but once Cordy Deifel came in and started building a winning program, now they're some of the hottest tickets in town. It's the same thing with soccer. Soccer was never really a thing, or at least it was, maybe very so-so. But then once you start putting together some really good teams and some excitement and some success, then people want to be a part of it. They want to start getting season tickets and start watching it and start seeing how it all plays out. So it's just a matter of bringing that success. And once you bring the success, the fans will come out and support it each and every time. And it's no different for basketball. But I think what impresses me the most is when I put this out there, and some people agreed, some people didn't, and I know we've talked about it before, but it goes back to Arkansas, to me, is a basketball school. They're a basketball school. They love their basketball. Razorback fans love their basketball. And there's no doubt, though, that if football was competing at the national level that basketball is, where they were constantly in the top 10, top 15, of course, Razorback football would be sold out too. It's the same thing. But it's amazing that you have an arena that sits 19,200, even though we know it can fit a lot more. And you're able to get so many people excited about basketball with a brand new roster, essentially. So much so to get everybody to sell out on season tickets in July. That's incredible. But we also know that there's going to be some renovations happening, if you will, to Bud Walton Arena here very soon. And I brought up this point to bring up this next point. I love the fact that Arkansas continues to sell out. It shows how much fans love it. But the fact that you're selling out at 19,200 capacity shows that there are still enough people that are willing to buy season tickets for an arena like Bud Walton, when so many other people are not doing that, that when you're talking about renovations, do you really want to downsize? And if you do want to downsize, how much do you really want to downsize? I am all for trying to get different things in Bud Walton Arena. I'm all for moving the student section, and because that needs to happen. I'm even for having, some more suites or maybe some loge boxes, like some sort of changes there. Like I am all for that. All for that. But I am just going to, I don't know. You can't change the atmosphere, and I'm going to be devastated beyond belief if they end up taking any sort of the spirit of Bud Walton Arena out of Bud Walton Arena because of the downsizing. Not saying they will. And I'm not being like, you can't change anything. Like, it needs a facelift. It does. But you just can't let all the great and exciting and magical things about Bud Walton Arena be taken out or be changed or be impacted because you just wanted to add a couple more loge boxes. You wanted to take out some of the cheap seats and add in some, richer seats. Like, I don't like that. So it's going to be curious to see where it goes, but it just shows you that the capacity is not the issue. It's not like you're never able to get to that 19,000 mark. You're going to get there, and you're going to get there many, many times. You're going to have 20,000 people into a freaking exhibition game against Purdue. Like, you're going to have 20,000 people there. You're going to have that against Duke. You're going to have that against almost every SEC team. And dadgummit, you'll probably have it against some of these, directional schools that you'll play. But just keep that in mind. Hopefully don't change it too much. But kudos to all you Razorback fans out there for getting it done and making it happen when it comes to everything about Bud Walton Arena, because it is the best. It is absolutely the best. Folks, this episode is brought to you by Marquel Insurance. From Fayetteville to El Dorado and everywhere in between, Marquel has been helping Arkansas' small business community for over 30 years. Marquel is a global specialty insurer with a truly people-first approach. And to them, insurance is more than just a piece of paper. It's a promise to help you get back on your feet quickly. We spend a third of our lives working, so on-the-job injuries can be expected. You work so hard to build your business, so it's important to make sure that you and your employees have the right insurance coverage. Whether you're new into the business or celebrating your 25th year anniversary, you have one employee or 1,000 employees, Marquel aims to understand your workers' compensation insurance needs. So find a local independent agent to get free workers' compensation insurance quote today at markelinsurance.com/lockedon. That's MARKEL insurance.com/lockedon. Marquel, insuring America's small businesses since 1930. Insurance carrier coverage, dividends, and services availability may vary by state. Marquel is a registered trademark of Marquel Group Incorporated. And also want to tell you about eBay Mowers, folks. eBay Motors has it all. When it comes to a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because it's just like in sports. Confidence is the name of the game when it comes to your shopping on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million different parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I thought this was kind of a funny thing. So Arkansas got a big-time addition to the team, to the baseball team, Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's coming to Arkansas. So dumb. Anyways, doesn't matter. It is a baseball player, and no, it's not the USC head football coach. But Arkansas did add a transfer commitment. This was earlier in the week. I just meant to talk about it. I know I'm just talking about it. But he's from Eastern Illinois. He's a senior outfielder. He batted .307 with 20 multi-hit games this past year, including a pair of hits in games against Arkansas and Vanderbilt, which he actually played against them. He slugged .424 and had an on-base percentage of .423 for an OPS of .847. Scored 11 doubles, 2 triples, 4 home runs, and 38 RBIs, and was hit by a pitch 23 times, and ranked 11th nationally. So the guy likes to get hit by pitches. Hey, whatever it takes to get on base. And was successful on 18 of 20 stolen bases attempts. He's 5'10", 180 pounds. He finished the season with an on-base streak of 24 consecutive games, including both games at the NCAA Nashville Regional against Vanderbilt, where he was named to the All-Region team. He did not commit an error defensively and had 4 assists. So continuing to get some really big-time players, and I think that this guy's going to be another great addition. Gets on base, kind of like the whole thing from Moneyball, gets on base, all that matters. So that's great for him and great for Razorback baseball and great for Dave Van Horn. I also wanted to use this final segment, and if those of you who are watching on YouTube, you probably see my little sign in behind me, that we have officially, at the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, made it to 7,000 subscribers on our YouTube page. And anytime that a milestone happens like this, I am just so happy and so blown away and so thankful. Like, again, I can't tell you, and this is not just like saying for the people on YouTube. I'm talking about for you that download and listen on Apple or on Spotify or however you listen to your podcast. This is for everybody, but it just goes to show you what we're doing here and what we're building with Locked On Razorbacks, that people continue to want to be a part of it and want to listen to it and want to get a lot of their information from it, and we like to have fun with it. That's really what it comes down to. So the fact that we're at 7,000 subscribers, I don't know where that ranks among the Locked On College Network, but I do know it's top 5. And to kind of put that into perspective, that we have on the podcast, Locked On Podcast Network, we have pretty much every Power 5 college represented, as well as a few non-Power 5 schools and every major conference represented. So like the Locked On SEC, the Locked On Big 12, all those things all represented. So you're talking about quite a significant amount of college podcasts. And for Arkansas to be a top 5 podcast on the network when it comes to subscriptions on YouTube and when it comes to listens and everything, it blows people's minds who are just like, man, these Arkansas folks, they love their Razorbacks, and y'all do, and I do, and I love doing it. So once again, just want to say thank you to everybody for making it possible and for making it so enjoyable to do this every day, because it is a lot of work. I know I have fun with it, and I'm not like complaining, because I know some of you are probably like, yeah, I'd love to trade jobs with you, so I'm not complaining. I just want you to know that like it is a lot of work to try and put together some content and make this work when it comes to doing this and my radio show every day. You're talking about 3 hours of radio plus about an hour and a half total of putting this all together on the podcast. It's a lot of work. And sometimes my brain is fried. Sometimes it's like I am just like worn out. Sometimes I can't talk very well. There's just so many things that can happen. But what keeps me going and what keeps me doing this and what keeps me having fun with it each and every day is you. Because I know that you guys are as big of a part of this as me. And the amount of people that, like, if I don't post a podcast or if I'm late on a podcast and I get messages like, hey, dude, where's the podcast? I'm like, man, that's my favorite thing to ever hear. It means that you guys count on it. And again, I'm so thankful for all of you. My goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers, I should say, by the end of football season. And if we do that, folks, I'm going to start crying. No, I won't start crying. But I'll just be very, very pleased. And I can't again, thank you enough. That's all I'm going to say is just thank you so much, each and every one of you, for listening and watching the Locked On Razorbacks podcast each and every day. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Be sure to subscribe and also hit that like button on YouTube as well. Be sure to do all of that stuff. And you can also get after me on social media at BuzzJohnNeighbors for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll be able to keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We will see you then.